Hello everyone, my name's Kitetsu and welcome back to my channel. First of all, thank you so much for all the support I've been getting recently. Don't forget you can enter my Golden Hammer Painting Award competition. See the video for the details, but you can win yourself a start collecting set. I really want more people to enter it. Now, what I want to do for this video is talk about the rumours, any speculation, theories, everything to do with the future of Age of Sigmar. Now, a lot of this is speculation because it seems to actually be relatively quiet out there on the leaks and rumours front, and if you do have any leaks or substantial rumours, please send them my way because I absolutely love covering stuff like that. But yeah, this video is going to look at things that are really imminent. I'm not going to spend too long talking about that because obviously we already know about it, but I'm also going to be talking about the future of warcry to a certain extent, the future of underworlds, what that means for Age of Sigmar, whether I think a new edition of Age of Sigmar is on the way. I'm going to talk about elves, I'm going to talk about chaos dwarves, and I'm going to be talking about the rumour engines. So let's crack straight into it. Now, this has required a lot of research and a lot of thought. I'm hoping this is the quiet before the storm because I really want some news to be covering on my channel for Age of Sigmar, and it's been fairly quiet recently. But anyway, Sons of Behemat, we know they're coming. We haven't yet seen the battle tome. We don't know if there's anything else we're going to see for this faction. We know these three amazing models we've seen so far are part of one enormous multi-build kit, and I'm really excited about them. I'm guessing the battle tome is going to combine the Gargants in there as well. You know, like the classic one we've had around for years. But I did notice on the rumour engine we have this thing here, and I have no idea what it was. Loads of people thought that this was the back of a person or a model, unless they've specifically cut this up to make the rumour engine more vague. I don't think that's the case. You've got these really sharp edges up here that actually make this look like it's a piece of stone. I'm wondering if this is some kind of shrine or scenery that we could see. Maybe it'll be something to do with the Sons of Behemat, but I'm not entirely sure. But interesting all the same. The other thing which I don't think has been solved yet is this here. It certainly seems to have a Sons of Behemat or perhaps the Ogre Moor tribes kind of feel to it. It's something that's been very crudely bolted together. It's got skulls hanging off it, teeth, and what's clearly a Dwarven or Dwarden shield there. One of the dispossessed shields. So could this be something else we haven't seen from Sons of Behemat at the moment? I'm not sure, but hopefully it would be exciting to have something other than just one new kit for that army. I'm going to gloss over this. We know Warhammer the Old World is coming. I've said it in a video before, but I think this is the best possible thing for Age of Sigmar. We need to stop this division of people being disappointed at Age of Sigmar for being something entirely new, because like it or not, that is what Age of Sigmar is trying to be. It's not trying to be a rehash of the old world. At every opportunity, it's trying to subvert your expectations and give you an entirely new twist on something you've seen before. But I love both. I love the old world. I love Age of Sigmar. Keep them separate, bring back Bretonnia and the Tomb Kings, and I absolutely can't wait for that. We know that obviously Warcry will continue to get supported. We haven't seen the release of these guys yet, but they are exciting. It does lead me to think, are we going to get a new starter set at some point? There isn't one available at the moment, and the first starter set is one of the best kits that I think Games Workshop have ever released. The scenery, the modularity of it, the different cards, I think it was fantastic. That came out in August last year, so almost a year ago, and it's been off sale for a while, so hopefully we'll see a new starter set soon. Do I think there's going to be a second edition of Warcry? No, not at the moment. I think they will just continue to bring out the Tome of Champions each year. Now, not related to Warcry, but really small things like obviously Slaves to Darkness have got models that are only available in their start collecting set, so I assume we'll see multi-part releases of those at some point. That's just a minor thing though. Forbidden Power, right, this was the next big story chapter for Age of Sigmar. At some point I might do a what is the storyline at the moment in Age of Sigmar type video, but I mean, yeah, it came out in this box. I think it felt a little bit flat to me in terms of how incredible the Soul Wars was, but obviously they use that as their springboard for an entirely new edition of the game. We had all of these figures here which were entirely new. We had a whole new army for death. We had a new chamber for the Stormcasts. And then in their next chapter they were like, yeah, have some forbidden spells, which are really cool, don't get me wrong, but you can't really say that this is as exciting as the Soul Wars was. That being said, I actually quite like the fact that they're going to do these intermittent updates to the storyline to keep things fresh. I don't know if you guys read the Wrath of the Everchosen book, but it was amazing. So yeah, incremental story updates is cool. Now, the first edition of Age of Sigmar was in 2015. This set, I think, came out in June 2018, so about a 3-year gap between the editions. Being 2020 at the moment, I would say we're probably a good year away from 3rd edition Age of Sigmar, but I don't doubt that they are well underway planning that at the moment. It probably takes a long time to design and develop entirely new factions and chambers. But yeah, then we go on to Underworlds and Warcry. Let's talk a bit about those. We haven't seen the Blade Coven yet, which are the Daughters of Cain faction for Warhammer Underworlds, but interestingly, we also have a Daughters of Cain faction, the Night Stalkers I think they're called, coming out for Warcry. Now, they said in the reveal of the Night Stalkers, Warcry is great for letting us look at the areas of the mortal realms that you don't tend to see anywhere else. That's certainly true in the case of models like all of the Chaos Warbands we've seen, but this, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first time we are seeing exclusive models for a faction in Warcry that are not specifically a Chaos Warband, and that's actually more exciting than I initially thought. It means that Warcry can now become a platform for all of the factions in Age of Sigmar to get new models. I'm totally on board for that. Let them explore the lore even further, bring out really cool things that they were not planning on bringing out otherwise. This exact example here with the Daughters of Cain is leading people to think that Underworlds is only going to be giving us factions that we've seen, or units, sorry, that we've seen already, sort of updated versions of minis that are familiar to us, whereas Warcry is going to be giving us entirely new things, but actually that's not entirely the case. If we think about the launch of Beastgrave, we had Skaith's Wild Hunt. These were entirely new. I immediately fell in love with these figures. You guys may know that Sylvaneth were the first army that I ever got into. They are well overdue some new models. So things like this are really exciting and very unexpected, but it does make me wonder what the future of the Sylvaneth are. But yeah, we've seen a Wood Elf team for Blood Bowl, and I know Blood Bowl is its entirely unique, separate thing, but it would be cool if we had an updated Wanderer faction in the future that was its own entirely separate thing. The other thing I think is exciting about Warhammer Underworlds is it very definitely can and has preempted the release of a future faction. If we look at Zarbag's Gits and Molog's Mob, both of those came out before the release of the Gloomspite Gits. I remember itching for new goblins, and they released Zarbag's Gits. These must have been like a prototype for the army that came, because we had the updated Squig models, we had archers, we had a Fanatic. There was just loads of stuff there that was really exciting. We even had a sort of Dankhold Trogoth. Yeah, I'm wondering if the design team will sometimes make something like an Underworlds warband as like an early prototype for an army that will come out later, but it does lead me to think, are there clues in warbands that we've seen so far as to things that we could see in the future? I mean, Ripper's Snarlfang look absolutely amazing, and if this isn't one of the coolest warbands we've seen so far, I don't know what is. I'll be talking more about these guys in a minute, but as for the Godsworn Hunt, there was a lot of talk about a Dark Oath faction. They were appearing a lot in the stories. They released a War Queen and a Chieftain. Personally, I think that's possibly as far as that's going to go. I can't see them releasing them anymore into a full-fledged faction, but at one point that was certainly looking likely, or a possibility at the very least. Right, the Elves, they are in a bit of an interesting place at the moment. Let's start with Mullerian. So far, we don't know very much about him, but we are assuming that at some point his model is going to be on the way, and we assume that when he does arrive, there will be an entirely new faction of kind of hybrid weird elf-like creatures to go with him. So far we have seen 2 Dark Elf style figures that were exclusive to Silver Tower. They were designed specifically for that set, so if we do see a faction for Mullerian in the future, it could be that these 2 figures have absolutely nothing to do with him. Based on the artwork that's been around for literally forever for Mullerian, I'm really hoping they stick with this theme of having winged mutant kind of evil style elf things. But yeah, there's certainly potential to do something very unique there. We've obviously got the Luminous Realm Lords on the horizon. We don't know if we've seen the entire range. I mean, they've shown so many models for them that I assume we have. Well, for now. But we know really strongly in the lore that both Tyrion and Teclis are the gods of the elves in Haish. And we know that society in Haish with the Lumineth is split right down the middle. Some of them worship Tyrion and the rest follow and support Teclis. So obviously we've seen Teclis, we've seen his model, we've seen his artwork, but at the moment we've seen nothing to do with Tyrion. I think the easiest thing they could possibly do, and the simplest, is to simply make a Tyrion model and then simply give his elves a different colour scheme. But perhaps there could be new models there to be released. We don't really know yet. Right, as for speculation of future factions that could be expanded upon, this classic book over here was one of 4 Grand Alliance books released right at the start of Age of Sigmar. In there, they released information about loads of different factions which don't have their own battle tome. Why would I be interested in these? Well, because some of them have now become fully fledged factions with their own battle tomes. Good examples being the Daughters of Cain, the Ironjaws, the Bone Splitters. There are loads. But there are still plenty of these factions that are still there, still available to become battle tomes. Quite a few of them have been merged into the Cities of Sigmar battle tome, but we could see a Devoted of Sigmar army at some point, the Calagia Arcane, Ironworld Arsenal, Dispossessed, Eldritch Council, Phoenix Temple, Order Draconis, Swifthawk Agents, Scourge Privateers, the Darkling Covens, Shadow Blades, the Order Serpentis, Wanderers, just generic greenskins. The Git mob basically disappeared. Firebellies, Soulblight. There are still plenty of factions with their own kind of, at the moment, sketchy but interesting backgrounds that Games Workshop could call upon to do something with. There are obviously instances where they do something like the Caradron Overlords and, you know, that whole subverting expectations by doing something that we're not expecting. I'm imagining that a lot of the Order factions that I've just flicked through, it's probably unlikely we would see a separate battle tome in a while, mostly due to the fact that they've just been included in the Cities of Sigmar book. In fact, I'm going to have to go through at the end of this video and see which ones they have included and which ones they haven't. But an army that is based around pirates, or maybe one based around dragons, is certainly something they haven't done yet, and it could be really cool. I know that a lot of these factions here were just a justification to keep your old models from Warhammer Fantasy, but if they've made some of them into their own factions with a battle tome, there's certainly a possibility they could do more. Chaos Dwarves. I remember when everyone was getting really excited for Chaos Dwarves. There's been a lot of underlying chat about the fact that there could be a Chaos Dwarf faction in Age of Sigmar. For me, the more models the better, the more factions the better, so it's definitely something I would love to see. They have now, of course, released their first Chaos Dwarf model. This is part of the Spire Tyrants for Slaves to Darkness. Are we likely to see Chaos Dwarfs as their own faction? Only time will tell. That being said, I think there is a Brayherd or a Bestigor, I can't remember which ones they've gone for, but one of those in the same unit, so it could entirely be possible. And then finally we get onto the rumour engines. So these are all things that haven't been solved at the moment. You have to be super careful when you are interpreting these images, because my goodness, have people got these almost comically wrong in the past. But either way, we've had this sword. It looks fascinating. It definitely, to me, says something vampiric. I found it very interesting that if you look at the recent Flesh Eater Court warband that came out, the hand and specifically the nails of this guy wrapped around his halberd, they look almost identical to this hand here. The nails really long and pointy. The musculature of the arms are very similar. Could this warband here be preempting the fact that we are going to get a big Flesh Eater Court update? They really need some new models, and seeing as they have one of the best backstories in the whole of Age of Sigmar, I would love to see it. There's also a lot of speculation that it could be a vampire, and a lot of that comes from this image here, which was released around about the time of the Nighthorn. I think this is in the Battle Tome if I remember rightly, but you've got Lady Alinda there, and these figures standing guard in particular have drawn a lot of attention to them. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation that we could be seeing a vampire faction of some sort, like the Soulblight returning. That is definitely something that's sort of missing from Age of Sigmar at the moment, but based on how close this looks to this guy here, I'm leaning a little bit closer to Flesh Eater Courts. We've also got this thing here, which clearly looks like something to do with the Seraphon, you know, near enough identical in style. So what's the obvious thing that's likely to happen here? Probably an Underworlds or a Warcry warband for Seraphon containing all new unique models. Maybe if it's for Underworlds, it could be just new poses of things we've already seen, but I guess we will have to wait and see. Next, we've seen the Crabclaw. Again, it's very difficult to interpret this. I know that certain demon units such as Slaanesh really tend to have a lot of claws, but there's something about the barnacles on it that are interesting me. We don't know if this is 40k or Age of Sigmar. I'm hoping it's Age of Sigmar. Could it be that some form of Vampire Coast style pirate themed army is on the way? That is wild speculation, but it would be really cool. Next, we've seen this rumour engine, which again I don't think has been solved. The iconography here is very clearly Sigmar. We've got a twin-tailed comet, and obviously that is and always has been the symbol of Sigmar. He's got it all over him, even the staff he's holding. Could it be that this is to do with a new chamber of the Stormcast? That would be really exciting. We had the initial Stormcast, which were like the warrior chambers. Then we had the Vanguard chambers, and then we had the Sacrosanct. I've seen a few people suggest that because the comet tails are not quite as angular and as sharp, they're a bit more rounded, that perhaps we could be looking at something to do with the Devoted of Sigmar as opposed to the Stormcast. But yeah, either way, that's exciting. And last of all, here are some more of the rumour engines that I think are unsolved. These ones I don't really have much in the way of guesswork. This and this look a little bit like they could perhaps belong to the Night Stalkers. I know that these three aren't the only models that we're going to see in that set. This thing here again looks maybe a little bit piratey. I don't know if I'm looking into that a little bit much. But yeah, I think that's all I was really going to say. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And please leave your comments down below. What do you think's coming up for Age of Sigmar? Do you think anything I've suggested could happen? Are they things you want to see happen? Any ideas what any of these rumour engines are? And yeah, otherwise stay safe and well, and I will hopefully see you really soon.